That's close enough. Who are you?
Like death, violence, or intense fear. Disturbingly, this could mean Daniel's killing just to feel something explanation is not as far-fetched as it sounds. However, soon we will learn about Daniel's current feelings regarding his actions, thanks to direct correspondence with him and his new fiancée. When Daniel was officially assessed for psychopathy disorder, he scored a 35.8 out of a possible 40. One of the highest scores ever seen. For comparison, Jeffrey Dahmer scored 23 out of 40, and John Wayne Gacy 27 out of 40, and their scores are considered high. In fact, Daniel's score is so extreme that it raises the question if his mental health history was curated to explain away crimes he planned to commit in the future. It's possible that he intended to use this history as a failsafe in case he got caught, to lessen punishment. With his IQ of 114, which is the very high end of normal, it's possible that Daniel was smart enough to pull this off. However, the only thing we'll know for certain in this regard is that Daniel's brain is wired extraordinarily different from the average human. Had Daniel not been apprehended, his crimes would likely have continued in increasingly debased ways.
Since that time, has it been building again? Have you thought about what you were going to do next?
Somebody over there alone in the house in the street or somewhere, just find somebody alone in my own beaten to death for baseball bat.
Did you have anybody in mind? Had you actually gone out looking for someone?
Yeah.
When was that?
I can't remember. It's been a couple times.
A couple times since 2 months ago. Did you have any contacts? Did you think find anybody that you think would be likely?
Now that he's spilled all the details of his crime, Daniel appears to have no reluctance when admitting that he would like to kill again. This statement would have a direct impact on his fate within the legal system. His later assertion that he aspired to be a serial killer certainly wouldn't help either. For now, though, the interrogators have all the information they need.
What questions do you have for me?
Was I really sure either way?
Okay. Sure. We would have found all that stuff, and we would have tested it, we would have come back and put it on and do some for the victim's blood. And
was there actually an aliens back then? At the prison?
there are unknown DNA profiles. I don't know if they're yours or not, we'll find out. Could be other people in the house that we don't know about, and we don't have identified them, we haven't compared those profiles with. If there was, if you think you might have made a small error at the house.
I don't think I did. That's what I was thinking.
No, it was a very well executed crime. No doubt about it.
Thank you.
Clearly you're a smart guy. But for these afflictions, I think we'd have a different life, no doubt.
Yeah, pretty much done now.
It may seem as though Daniel has exhausted all potential shock factor, but as it turns out, he has one more chilling statement to make. However, this one is delivered by request.
You mentioned that pretty much everybody you meet, you have thoughts about killing them and how you kill them. Yeah. So, how would you kill me?
There's a lot of ways.
I mean, that you've thought of so far in the couple hours that we spent together here.
Choking you to death with your tie.
Okay.
Beating your face into the mirror until it broke and using the glass to cut your arteries, gouging your eyes out and smashing your face into the wall. It's nothing personal.
I don't take it personal, right? It's just, that's what happens when you meet somebody, when you're thinking, when there's no time, when you...
Involuntary. It's something that just happens. It's like breathing, you breathe, you don't think about it, it just happens.
Can't control it.
I couldn't if I wanted to, and I do want to.
On that note, the FBI agent steps out for a moment to begin the booking process. During an earlier moment in the interrogation, when Daniel was no longer under the watchful eye of the police, a different, perhaps more accurate side of him emerged.
When hard-working hands need hard-working skincare, that's a job for O'Keefe's working hands.
Daniel was brought to trial for the murders of Chip Northup and Claudia Maupin, which lasted 5 weeks. Despite the brutality of the crime, Claudia's daughter Victoria and her granddaughter Sarah both mention that they find a small amount of solace in the knowledge that Chip and Claudia died together, as they always wanted. Victoria was once again willing to share her insight on the experience, starting with the moment she first saw Daniel at the trial.
And here he comes, and they bring him right up to me like this. If I turned like this, I could have touched him. Right. And I thought to myself in that moment, this your chance, V, get him, right? And I thought I could just grab him, right? And I could just push him into the marble a couple of times. But I felt my daughter behind me, and she must have known what was going on because she wrapped her arms around me in this huge bear hug from behind. And she says in my ear, "Mama, don't do it. Mama, don't touch him. We need to go into the courtroom and we need to be there and understand. So don't do it, Mama, don't do it."
Claudia's granddaughter Sarah recounted her interactions with Daniel's family during the trial.
So we went, and it was in a little room, and they were like, "We're going to bring you into a room at a certain time." And we went to go down the small, little, narrow hallway, and on one side was our family, and the other side was his family, which was a little baffling to me, that we were literally 3 or 4 feet in front of each other. And they were teenagers, mostly. Sarah was very quiet and stoic, and this did my son's unresponsible kind of like face, like just, but the teenagers were like just, I don't want to say a teenager because it's not, it wasn't typical behavior. It was almost mocking. And they had Free Daniel signs and t-shirts, and apparently they had started a site too, a Free Daniel Facebook page. And it was an awkward hour that we had to be with them.
The families remained in close proximity even after entering the courtroom. Victoria, Sarah, and other members of the victims' families were seated directly behind Daniel's father, Bill Marsh, during the proceedings. Victoria's memory on the testimony from Daniel's friends is also enlightening.
And then the friends got up, and his friends were just terrified. Young people, his girlfriend and his best friend, got up and testified that when he was as early as 10 years old was talking about homicides and talking about and actually hurting animals, and I saw him, because of course I watched him, right, the whole trial, so I saw him reacting to what his girlfriend and his friends were saying, and they couldn't even look at him. They were terrified, and he was looking at them like, "I'm gonna get you." I mean, there was so much manipulation and anger, it just seething from him during that testimony of his friends.
Daniel's ex-girlfriend was required to testify at the trial because she was one of the people that turned Daniel into the police and was privy to the details of the crime. From her recollection, it sounds like this was a harrowing experience for her.
And I really don't remember much of it. I went into straight panic mode. All I remember is I started uncontrollably crying on the stand, and they had to bring out a dog for me at some point, and they had to actually just take a whole break and let me go for a second and recuperate and come back. I barely remember seeing Dan's face. I barely remember seeing anybody. I know I looked at the victim's family, and I know I saw them, but I don't remember anything about it because it was just such... I just blacked out, essentially. And I remember that I was on the stand, and this is also something that I just feel the utmost guilt about because I didn't know how to answer questions when I was on the stand. I just kept saying, I don't know. I tried to give the most information I could, and they were asking very specific things, and I was panicking, and I just kept saying, I don't know. And I left the courtroom saying, oh my God, I did not help them at all. I did not give them any information to this case that's going to make sure that he stays away. I just kept saying, I don't know. And all I could think of at the time is that I wanted to talk to the victim's family. I remember he tried to plead insanity, and that's what me and his ex-friend were essentially there for, is to be like, no, this was calculated, it was planned, and it was executed with precision and celebrated after the fact. There was no, oh, I kind of went crazy and this happened, and oh my God, now I regret it. It was like, I took out the steps to make sure I did this right. I did it, and I'm happy I did it.
She also had this message to share with Chip and Claudia's families.
I would just first and foremost apologize. I would say, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that you waited so long. I'm so sorry you spent those 6 months wondering what happened and all the horrific things that I must have put your family through, and for that they were investigated. They had to turn over every leaf, and really we held the key to stop that part of their suffering. And I cannot, no matter how much I think about this situation, there's always going to be that level of, damn it, why didn't I just go to the cops immediately? Why did I prolong it for so long? What was there to think about? We ended up in the same place anyways. Like I said earlier, no amount of planning will ever make you ready for that situation. That's the one thing, if I had one thing to go back in time and change, that would be it. I've realized your intuition, your gut feeling when you're unsettled, that feeling of offness, it really holds some power to it and some truth, and you should definitely listen to that. Never go along with something you're not comfortable with.
Further insight into how we can learn from this terrible crime comes from Robert, Chip's son. He once again expressed frustration with the system, wishing